All right, well, since we're recording, people can listen to this in the future if they get joined in late. We have the bulk of the people that had signed up for this. Welcome, everybody. This is Patrick Hebert, COO of ECI Development speaking. I'm not quite as polished as Mike Cobb or Rachel Jensen at doing webinars, so you'll have to bear with me. And I woke up with a bit of a sore throat, so hopefully we'll make it through it. I'm not going to take any more of your time than we need to, but I think it's necessary to go through this, and I hope we answer a lot of your questions. Obviously, this is a very exciting time for the Grand Baymen owners, and an exciting time for ECI as well to become part of the Best Western family, the flagship Best Western hard brand franchise, and it's something I think I've been alluding to a lot of since I started a couple of years ago in the role, that we want to brand the property. We wanted to brand the property. Now we are. Best Western is one of the top 3 hotel companies in the world in terms of size, and they that's a pretty big deal for all of us. This is the first branded operating property for ECI, so that's exciting for us as well, as it is for you. And what I want to do today is just go through a little bit of the questions and thoughts that you may have had. We've kind of been, I'll be honest, we wanted to announce this a little differently. We wanted to be a little more communicative with everybody, but I was under a non-disclosure agreement over the last year and a bit as we were negotiating with Best Western. I tried to allude in my pretty regular communications that we were working on branding the property, but I really couldn't talk about specifics. And so I apologize if anybody felt kind of left out and wasn't, we couldn't really talk about much. And obviously this couldn't be kind of it would have been, unwieldy, and we would never have got anything done. So, we would have loved to have gone through this process with you, but we went through this process for you. And let's talk a little bit about some of the details. Obviously, the key benefits of a brand like Best Western, well, there's many benefits, but I just noted a few of the key ones here. We really expect an increase in occupancy and the ADR, the average daily rate. Not only because of Best Western's prowess around have, knowing that if they've got a limited time and budget for vacationing, you want to go somewhere where you're confident that it's going to be up to a certain standard. And I think it's one of the biggest strengths of Best Western is they bring that to the table for us. It's not a guess for somebody to come to the gardens, reading through our reviews, most of which we are proud of, that are much better than they were in the customer service. But just having the Best Western moniker is a big deal for people feeling confident. Things like the points program. Western has one of the larger points programs among hotels in the world as well. And if you're a Detroit businessman that's traveling back and forth to Chicago or something, and you're racking up Best Western points, because that's where you typically in a northern climate, you're going to want to take your family to a tropical resort, and we'll be one of the few, well, 2 Best Westerns in Belize, and only one on the island in Ambergris. So, if you want to use your points, Best Western, you're going here in Belize, you have very limited. The non-occupancy ADR type of things are just the general standards that Best Western brings to the table. Customer service training. We all know that in the Caribbean and Latin America in general, there's a cultural differences from North American expectations, and customer service training is not easy. And bringing best Western training procedures and policies into the program is, I think, going to have a huge benefit for us. That spans right from, you know, the front desk and how people check in and out, you know, the concierge type services, welcoming people in and helping them book golf carts or sailing tours or snorkeling or whatever it is, right through to, you know, the cleanliness training. Best Western just came out with this last month a new, likely due to the virus issue, but a new cleanliness procedure with, you know, higher sanitation requirements, and, you know, things like that I think are always beneficial for the hotel as well. Although we do like to believe we do a really good job of cleaning. Again, customer confidence on a Best Western procedure is going to be higher than an unknown brand. And it brings, you know, software systems and consistency that are linked globally to the OTAs, the online travel agents. And really that, you know, that brings a huge benefit with us in terms of people from all over the world, you know, seeing us top rated on the, you know, on the Expedias or Travelocities of the world, booking.com. And the software systems also give us internally that the Best Western software systems are bringing better reporting, which we believe will really benefit our statements, our rental statements to you, the owners. So there's a number of other benefits, of course, but those are kind of the top ones on the revenue side. I think the other big ones on the, you know, the other side of the coin is on the expense side, and it's allowing us to lower our rental acquisition fee, the cost to acquire the guest, from 25% to 15%, which is a huge amount. You know, right, because that's right off the gross, and a 10% savings right off the gross is a big deal. It's also going to, you know, part of what it's not necessarily a Best Western benefit, but one of the benefits that comes along with the revamping of the rooms is lowering of the utility costs. We're going to be installing AC set point controllers. They're controlled via Wi-Fi. We can literally set a minimal amount, potentially whether somebody's in the room or not, in motion detection and those sorts of things. What we've experienced not only at Grand Baymen but at our other properties as well is, you know, people will leave the room during the day, go to the beach, but leave their AC on really low, so when they get home it's icicles hanging from the ceiling basically, and that's a huge use of power that's unnecessary, and these systems will help us control that, as well as linking back to the way it was meant to be in the beginning, linking the AC key card controller to the door lock. So, you know, we provide one key. They check in, they go to the room, they get in the room, they put the key in the AC controller, and if they want to leave, they need to take that out, which also shuts down the AC units. So that we expect both of those things to really save a lot on the power bills, as well as things like low flow shower heads. You know, I've become a bit of an expert on eco-friendly homes and building homes in the eco communities in Central America, and you know, you get a lot of benefits from something as simple as a low flow shower head. Not only does it cut down on the water, but it cuts down on the cost of the heated water, which is actually way more expensive. The power to heat the water is more expensive than the water itself, but it helps in both cases. So there's things where we're going to be doing that, you know, really lower the expenses. So the takeaway from this is basically we're expecting considerably higher revenues from the Best Western franchise, and we're able to reduce the expenses as well. So just to give you a little understanding of the history, like I said, the Best Western agreement was signed in late February, and we did really want to, you know, bring everybody into the loop earlier. As I said, I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement, and we couldn't talk about it. Obviously, Best Western negotiates each one of these agreements with the resort companies individually, so they don't want, you know, our agreement spread around to other ones that might try to use that in their negotiation with Best Western later. So, we tried to do as best we could to kind of, hint at an upcoming branding, and then release the information as soon as we were allowed to. I'd sent out the work orders for the room upgrades, and we'll talk about that in a minute. We wanted to include that early with your statements, your Q1 2020 statements that just went out last week. And the reason for that is I just wanted you to be able to kind of see what you were owed or wherever you were standing on your net revenue, rental revenue, versus the cost of upgrading a room. And I know that was kind of putting the cart before the horse, saying, here's what you owe before we've even told you about what it is. But that was the rationale, rather than wait, where for instance, if we owed you a certain rental revenue, rather than send that to you and have you send it back to pay for the upgrades, we want to give you the option to look at it and net it out. That was really the rationale behind it. And I do realize that it wasn't kind of the order that we'd have preferred, but that's just the way it worked out. But since obviously I haven't mentioned, even really talked about the whole COVID-19 coronavirus issue. Obviously that's had a huge impact around roughly mid-March. Just about everybody checked out of the gardens for the last month and a half, almost 2 months now. Excuse me. And nonetheless, we've stayed open. We've had a few people check in recently as other resorts have closed, and really we stayed open because we're committed to our employees, and that's where it really boils down to. And I would say probably 90% of the resorts are higher closed in mid-March to late March. And we suffered through it. We kept the employees most of the employees we could keep, almost all of them, other than basically the bar and the gym, and they're kind of on vacation for a little bit. But, we kept the rooms open. We tried to bring in longer term tenants that were wanting to stay in the country and not exit, even though these other resorts were closing. And we were lucky enough and worked hard enough to get a number of them, but obviously the occupancy is very low right now compared to what it would be in the high season of March, April, and early May. But during this time, we've not stopped working on the Best Western items. We've, since signing the agreement, we've been working on the software systems, training schedules, planning for room upgrades and property upgrades. We've been even doing social distancing by planting, where the maintenance guys could work rather than close together fixing something. They were working, planting trees 10 feet away from each other and things like that. So we've tried to do the best we can with the lockdown that was put on us on Ambergris. And it was, Ambergris Key took this virus very seriously. It's actually probably one of the most locked down areas in Central America. Some of the countries are, on one side of the spectrum, virtually ignoring the virus entirely, and others are like Belize, have taken it quite seriously. So been lucky to hear, as of today, we're told that there are 0 cases, active cases. There were 18, I believe, at one point in the country, which is obviously significantly smaller than most countries we're used to in the US and Canada. But, there's a small population here, so they did take it seriously, and the medical care is, going to get spread out if it got bad here. So fortunately, hopefully we're over the small hump that we had with the virus, and we'll see, over the next weeks where we go. But just to give everybody a bit of an update, they had closed the island off completely to even other Belizeans. So the ferries and the airport were shut down. This last Monday, the ferries opened up. They're kind of analyzing anybody that comes off. I know even our staff who have gone to the mainland and back have to prove that they are employed on or live on the island before they get off the ferry. And my understanding is Monday, Tropic Air is starting up with flights again, but we don't really have any idea of when the borders to Belize are going to be open. But that's where we sit right now. So next steps, like I said, you recently received your Q1 2020 rental statements, which shows your current rental balance that is owed or that we owe you related to, and include a Best Western invoice, basically the work order that has the upgrade fee on it. And I realize that, it's a little bit strange to get a work order that doesn't specify what the work was going to be done, but we are 99.9% complete with the actual list of upgrades and items that are on the Best Western upgrade list. And we will be sending that out to you shortly, along with some other documents that I'll talk about in a minute. And you'll be able to go through, it's a item list of, I think it's about 50 or 60 items on there that we need to do to have every room come up to the bar to become a part of the Best Western. And, feel free to look through that if you have any questions about it. I think we made it very, very fair. There's a lot of pieces that Grant Baymen is taking on the expenses ourselves. Some that are applied obviously to the room, but each individual item you can look across exactly at what the anticipated cost will be for each item. And I think you'll see that it's fair. If you feel like something on there doesn't seem fair, then I'm probably just not describing it well. So feel free to send me an email anytime and ask any questions you have. In the next few days, I'm hoping by the end of next week, they're with the lawyers right now, these documents, so I don't want to promise on their behalf what their schedule will be, but I'm hoping we get them back soon. We're not radical changes, but obviously we need to update the rental management agreement. There will be a property management agreement and a new HOA agreement. The HOA fees aren't changing, but we've learned things over the years from having resorts and watching what other HOA is doing, especially ones here on the island, and just fine tuning it a bit. But you're welcome to look through it and see if there's anything. I think in all cases there, the benefits for the owners. The agreements all have more benefits for the owners than the old agreements did. Obviously the rental management agreement has to, change from the 25% to 15% rental or guest acquisition fee, etc. And we've separated the rental and property management agreement because potentially, in most cases, you're going to have both. But if you're not renting your unit, but you still want, it managed, you want your fridge checked, you want, make sure there's no water leaks, you want, whatever different things done to your room under a property management agreement with us, then that technically could be something done without the rental management agreement. So you'll be receiving those shortly as well. And of course you can review and send myself or our team any questions that you have. So you have options. I know it's felt a little bit like, here's the Best Western plan, here's what you have to live by. That's not the case, and I just want to explain the options that you do have. You obviously, and we hope you choose option number one, which is to have your unit join the Best Western rental program. We really believe the benefits are very high for yourselves, and we hope to have as many units under the Best Western flag as we can. But you also have the option to manage your unit long-term leases on your own. But just be aware that does require we can apply, we do apply, and we have a BTB, which is the Belize Tourism Board license, and the reporting that goes along with that, and the tax collection and everything. And we have that for all the rooms that are under our rental agreement, which will now be under our rental agreement and Best Western flag. But any rooms that are not under that agreement have to have their own license and do their own reporting and their own tax collection. It's not insignificant. It's a bit of a pain. Of course, you can have somebody else manage that for you, but on a long-term lease, it is a bit of a pain. But that I just want everybody to realize that if they'll check everything, whether your taxes are up to date, etc., and before they issue the license. And so if you are intending to rent your unit yourself on a long-term basis, just be aware that that is a requirement, a law and the lease. And if you're on your own with the leasing, obviously the Best Western benefits, don't apply. And that means that, your guests can't use the concierge services of Best Western. They're not going to, be able to go to the front desk. And I mean, we'll obviously be as obliging to your guests as possible. But from a Best Western standpoint, they don't really want to give all the benefits of the Best Western to people that aren't in the, owners that aren't using their units in the Best Western program. So I'm sure you can understand that. And then the third option is you can, obviously not rent your unit, or you live in it, or whatever it is, and just not be in any rental program at all. So I just wanted to clarify that, because I think there was a bit of an impression, and maybe, we had sent out a frequently asked questions, FAQs earlier, and, there was a bit of a liquid document. We're fine-tuning items as we go along. So we're going to be sending out a revamped FAQs as well, which will list this sort of thing. And, in hindsight, we probably should have been a little bit better at wording the answers to your questions and the questions we thought you would have. But we're also learning, and we will try to answer them better in the next version. Looking to the future. When I came on as the COO and, discussed this with Mike and the board, we agree, and, this is the strategy for the company. Our core competency at ECI is we find really nice locations, and we build really nice communities, whether they're a small resort or 2,500 acres like Grand Pacifica in Nicaragua, or wherever they are in Panama or Costa Rica, or wherever they are now and wherever they're going to be in the future. And that's really what we do as our core competency at ECI. And, that's what we owe our shareholders. Running the amenities of the bars, restaurants, gyms, golf courses, tennis courts, that sort of thing, that's not really within our core competency. We believe that we are better off finding, partners that is their core competency, and that's what they do. For instance, the rental business. We are actively looking and actively speaking with companies that are, rental and property management companies, and that's what they do for a living. And they're not resort builders or community builders, and they focus on fine-tuning their craft. And we do believe that that's the best for, our owners to have the world-class, companies that do that for a living come in and do that. So I just want to clarify that, yes, although we are managing this business, the rental business specifically, and the amenities as we speak, that really isn't our long-term goal. We're looking for a partner that's a quality, proven track record, like I said, world-class entity to come in and do this. And we have some in mind. I don't want to mention their name at this point, their names, but my goal and Mike's goal and the company's goal is to put the best entities in the best position. So we're providing the best return on investment for you, the owners of these condos. And we want you to be very happy. I know, there's been issues, whether it's the titles or your return on investment hasn't been what you'd expected, and those sorts of issues. And we're not blind to those issues. We want to improve, and we want to find the best solutions to those. And I think, finding the partners to run the rentals is just one piece of the puzzle for that. We want you to be happy with your investment in the gardens. We want you to be proud of it. We want you to talk to your friends and family about it, and hopefully, you're our best salespeople and marketers is word of mouth. So, it's not like, we're just stuck in a rut, and that's the way it's going to be. But in the meantime, as we, move forward over the next few months, we're very lucky to have staff like Lorena. I think most of you have probably talked to or met Lorena, either on the phone or live. And Lorena has worked Lorena Vasquez is our property manager at the Gardens, and she's worked with the Best Western before. And, we continue to be involved now and when we have property management company in place. So, there will be the consistency, and we really appreciate what Lorena has done in her few short months to make improvements at the Gardens. In fact, we were doing really well. I think you'll see in your Q1 rental statements, we had a really good February and a really good start to March, and then of course mid-March, the bottom fell out with the virus. But it was starting to show. Lorena and Ivan Levy on our marketing director side and others on our team were when we've recently brought in another person on the rental management side that's basically working with the OTAs, the online travel agents, and so we've built a really good team. And then when you layer Best Western skills and talent and name on top of that, I really think it bodes well for the future. Now, the only outlying question is how long of an impact will the coronavirus have? So return on investment, I don't like to throw out specific numbers because I don't like to make promises that we can't keep. But in talking with the Best Western relative to the numbers that we've had now, relative to what their Best Western does in Belize City and other Best Westerns in the area, they expect to probably boost at least 50% higher occupancy than we've been able to have over the course of the year. Not 50%, added to ours, but 50% of what we were doing added to ours, if that makes sense. And also, with the Best Western name, as I mentioned earlier, we expect an increase in the ADR, lower cost of rental acquisition and lower cost of utilities. So we do expect, a better ROI for sure. Now, that's, we have to see what the virus impact is on that, but we expect, just as an aside, I've been watching, there's inside reports that come out from the OTAs like the Expedias and companies like that, Booking.com, and they're showing a real spike in people looking at booking reservations September, October, November, which is, obviously higher than the high or sooner than the high season. And the reason for that, I guess, is people are just feeling very cooped up, and they're anticipating once worldwide travel is allowed again, there is going to be a pretty significant initial spike in travel and vacationing. Of course, people's jobs were impacted by the virus, and much higher unemployment. So there's countering statistics as well. But based on people searching for where to go and when they'd like to go, that's what's showing in the statistics online. So joining the program, as I've said, we had to nail this down as best we could. People, I was somewhat stuck between a rock and a hard place. People would say, well, if you're not going to give us a number of what it's going to cost, how are we supposed to know what we're, which way we're leaning and what we want to do? People were saying, is this going to cost $5,000, $10,000, $15,000? What's the number to join Best Western? So I went through the list of all the things that we have to do and did our best to estimate what those things are going to cost, and that's the number that came out of it. And like I said, I'll send you that list and you can look through it. But the one-time upfront fee it's really a one-time fee. It's an initial fee to join the Best Western, and I think it's a very fair. It's a good fee for the long list of things that are on it. And it's, the opportunity right now is we can do some of this work in bulk. If we have a large number of owners deciding to join the Best Western, then, that's why my anticipation is that, and that's where this number came from. So, if somebody joins a year from now, we can't promise that. It could be 2 or 3 times as high as that number, because if we're doing one-off changes to one room, that's different than if we're doing 42 rooms at a time, for instance. But you will see soon what that includes, and again, if you have any questions about it, feel free to ask. There are very minor fixed costs per room per month. There's a Best Western per room software fee, digital marketing fee, and brand fee, and it adds up to $19.04 per room per month. But obviously, on your first night booking, you've erased that and considerably more. So the good news is that the fixed fees are low, and your rental acquisition fees from 25% down to 15%, and plus the anticipated lower cost of utilities all adds up to a lower cost of ownership and cost of joining the program. So we understand there are questions and concerns. Like I said, we would have loved to kind of gone through all this before we even signed anything with Best Western, but that just wasn't the opportunity that we were presented with. We have been updating the FAQs, the frequently asked questions sheet. I'll go through a few of them now. I'll try not to take up too much time, but I think that's probably a good way for us to capture a number of the questions and answers, and then I'll take some as well as we have time off of the list that you're maybe sending in here. I'm also looking at ones that are coming in online here as we speak. So pardon if I'm quiet for a few seconds while I'm reading the questions. I think we answered one of them from Mario Lamoth, is the Best Western fee a one-time fee, or will there be others? The Best Western fee is a one-time initial fee, and then like as you know, then there's the hard costs that I just mentioned on the previous slide of $19 and change, and that's per month per room. Excuse me. And then the 15% acquisition fee. So that there is no anticipated or contractual fee that, you're going to have another fee in 6 months or another fee in a year or anything like that. Once, we'll have to keep each room up to the quality bar that is set by this initial upgrade. But obviously we're going to do everything we can to maintain the rooms at that level. Susie Silliman is asking, how will the units be prioritized from rental through the Best Western reservation system? Is there an algorithm that ensures rentals are fair? Yes, the rental system, and to be honest, most of the rental systems out there do have that function built into them. There are caveats to that. I mean, obviously the Best Western system also has that, but when people request people that have stayed, for instance, guests that have stayed in the past and they like a certain room that they've stayed in, if it's available, we let them, we're trying to make our guests happy, so we will let them request a certain room and book that room. But the software is designed, the algorithm is designed to, it can't make it perfect every month or even every quarter, but it is designed to look at the past bookings and even it out. If one's lower than the average, it's going to put people in those rooms, and that's generally how they work. But like I said, there are caveats to that, and obviously if a room has a water pipe break and it's out for 3 or 4 days while we fix it and clean it up, then that can impact it as well. But in general, that's how they work. I'm just trying to get through some of the questions here. I don't know. Also, I think I have some of these answers answered in the FAQs, but one of the question is, BW doing the rental management? Oh, sorry, this is from Derek Jossam. Is BW doing, Best Western doing just the rental management or property management as well? They are really just involved in the rental management. Most of these hotel companies, they give you their name, and they give you a lot of training. They give you a lot of policies and procedures, and they inspect fairly often that you're keeping it up to the standards. But underneath that, you have flexibility in terms of how you do the property management. So as I mentioned earlier, We will be doing the property management in the short term, but we're also looking to find an entity to take that over in the future. I think I answered the other ones. Is the Best Western fee a one-time fee? Yes. Jeff Finstead, how many owners were consulted? It couldn't involve all of them, but were any consulted? Unfortunately, I wasn't allowed to talk about the Best Western contracts or agreements with anyone. As I said, I tried very, subtly to put it into my updates. I try to put in a Best Western or a Baymen Gardens update out every 3 weeks or so, probably every 2 weeks to a month. On that topic, just if you're wondering and you haven't seen my semi-regular updates, I would ask that you look through your spam folders or junk email folders or whatever it's called in your system. I've had a number of emails from our Grand Baymen owners asking questions that are exactly what I just answered in an update that was a month ago or 2 months ago or something. And so then we realized that they weren't receiving my emails because it was in their junk folder. So if you make my email address whitelisted, which basically means you add it as a contact in your email system, and usually if you reply to it as well, that'll help your email system and your email domain controller know that you're okay with receiving emails from me. So we'll probably end up missing a lot less of those. We're also looking at other solutions on our side in our IT department of what we can do to stop that from happening. But because ECI development does send out an awful lot of emails from a lot of our staff, we tend to get flagged as, put into people's junk emails. And so if you're not hearing from me or Lorena or Valeria or someone at ECI or Grand Baymen fairly often, then maybe check your junk email folders. There's a number of emails or questions coming through. I'm just trying to skip over repeat ones. One of the questions from Don and Tommy Johnson: how do we let you know that we want to join the BW rental program, and how soon will it begin? We'd initially hoped that we could have a soft opening in late August to September. Obviously, the virus really put a damper on that. We'd really like to open as a Best Western for the high season, the late 2020, early 2021 high season, probably with a soft opening and maybe in November. And by soft opening, we're just going to blend it in, we're going to practice being a Best Western to some extent, and then go in full force into the high season. And, obviously really hoping that the 2021 high season is outstanding, because a lot of people weren't able to travel this year. So for how do you let us know, you can just send Lorena or myself an email. It's probably the easiest way. And, we'll work with you if you want to use net balance on your rental revenue. We can do that, subtract it from what is owed to you after this last quarter, and go forward. We're going to work on the first people that join. We're going to work on their units first. And so as we get going, we're going to be renting out those units as a Best Western, in order that they came into the system. So there is some incentive to getting your unit involved early rather than waiting. Let me just quickly go through the FAQ list and see if there's anything that we might have missed. One of the items is which version of Best Western will we be? I think I mentioned that earlier. We're the Best Western main flag, or the hard brand as they call it, which basically means it's the Best Western without any designation behind that, or soft brand. It's much like we are doing with the Marriott hard brand on the beach nearby here. There's other what are called soft brands at a lower tier, like the Marriott Autograph. We're going to be the Marriott hard brand on the beach, and we're the Marriott or the Best Western hard brand at the gardens. And really, what the rationale for that was there's other options. Best Western, just like Hilton or Marriott, has soft brands as well. Best Western, for instance, has the Best Western Plus. But our take on that was, Best Western is known as a quality brand, but not technology. But liken it to something like a McDonald's. You go to McDonald's or you go to an A&W, you know what you're going to get. You don't have to wonder whether it's going to be terrible. It's very consistent, and that's a benefit. But adding the plus behind a Best Western, maybe adding the plus behind a Hilton or something like that is different. But a Best Western being known for, a well-priced, good quality product, the hoops we would have had to jump through and the expense to enter the system to become a plus didn't really outweigh the name plus. So we went with the hard brand Best Western, and it's also what Best Western suggested for us. So that's the answer to that question. There's a number of questions coming up about which documents are we going to receive. I think I mentioned that, the property management, rental management, and a new HOA updated document to look through. Like I said, I'm just quickly scanning through the list of questions, and for ones that I may not have answered yet. What if I don't want to rent my condo at all? You don't have to. You will not have to pay the Best Western fee if you want to live in it or just not rent it. Have it available for yourself at all times. I know there's a few questions that I wanted to get to that are in here, so pardon my slight delay here. If I put my condo into the Best Western rental program, are there owner usage restrictions? What own use of your unit is you'll have up to 6 weeks per year of usage for free, 2 weeks during high season and 4 weeks during low season. Anything that you want to use over that complimentary allotted time will be at a nominal fee of 30% of the rack rate for the room of that time of year. So you have 6 weeks to spread, 2 weeks in high season, 4 weeks in low season, and after that, there'll be 30% of the rack rate if you go beyond the 6 weeks. Can guests use Best Western points? Yes, they can, and you still get compensated. There's a formula that Best Western uses that the points are worth, and it's not like you'll not earn money when points are used. So if we're happy with the point system, how it's working, we can scale that up as well. It's kind of under our control. Again, I'm just looking through the questions that are coming in, whether I've answered them or not. Here's one. To what extent does the transition to Best Western depend on all units having been updated? In other words, will the early adopters have to wait for everyone else before reaping the benefits of the Best Western marketing and global rental program? The bottom line is we won't wait. We're going to open on our schedule with the units that have been upgraded, regardless of the number. And if there's fewer units than we have now under the Best Western program, then they'll just have higher occupancy and higher ADRs. So I think the incentive to do that, again, is there. I mean, I'm hopeful that everybody that rents now wants to become part of the Best Western program. We didn't do this because we think it's just, you know, another turn of the page. We really worked hard at this over the last year and a half as a benefit for everyone. So hopefully I'm doing a reasonably good job at describing why you'd want to join the program. Here's one that's maybe a little bit longer in answer, and I'll try to shorten it. But other than posting Grand Baymen Gardens on its website, what other promotional activities is Best Western committed to? Best Western works directly with many of the OTAs, the travel agents, and yes, through their own website as well. But they also assist in franchise level marketing flyers and brochures, as well as online and social media announcements and that sort of thing. They have that large membership program. You know, and with us being the first Best Western on Ambergris Caye and only the second in the country, you know, we expect to see a lot of support, and we've already seen a lot of support from Best Western. Best Western's also very excited to add another Caribbean franchise, and specifically here in Belize, and you know, they've been, you know, paying a lot of attention to us, and I talk to them just about every day. The Latin American and Caribbean group is based out of Mexico City, and you know, we're in constant touch, and despite the fact that, you know, they're having a lot of their own issues to deal with because of the virus, they still make the time to check in with us almost daily and see what we need for support. And so they're, you know, that yes, a lot of it is obviously the Best Western name, but there's a lot more to it than that. Here's another one. How are units that are for sale handled? There's really no change. If the unit is upgraded to a Best Western unit prior to sale and it's in the program, then they can stay in the program with the new owner. If the unit was not in the rental program, then it would have to be option to join. But like I said earlier, it's probably a significantly higher initial fee than we're offering today. But I do think being part of the Best Western program will definitely be a selling feature for anybody that is, you know, intending on selling their unit. So those were some of the questions that were also in the FAQ, and like I said, I think most of the sorry, Sabrina Johnson just asked a question. Patrick, did you say 2 weeks in the high and 4 weeks in the low season per room each year? Yes, that is correct. A total of 6, 2 in the high season. High season is roughly from, you know, mid-December till just after Semana Santa or Easter. So, and then 4 weeks in the low season. And, you know, we appreciate anybody that gives us as much notice. I know the front desk certainly appreciates as much notice as when you're using your unit. Obviously, if it's already reserved during that time, we will do our best to move the reservation to another unit. But, you know, like I said earlier, if a guest requests a certain unit because they really like the unit, and then you want to come in and use it, and we have to move them, sometimes the guests aren't that happy about that. So we try to give as much advance notice as you can give us. So that's always appreciated. I think that's most of the questions that are been listed on. Just like I said, there's a number. I think I'm scanning through them again to make sure I'm not missing something. It says, I thought I saw something about property management in here. Sorry, I just don't want to miss one. Dirk Jossam asked, are there property management fees not shown? I mean, currently we have a separate property management agreement, but if you're in the Best Western program, you'll become part of the property management program likely as well. It wouldn't really make sense to be in the rental agreement and not in the management agreement, because it's difficult for us to keep the best Western standards up if somebody else is managing the room on a property basis. But those fees are all included in the Best Western, or the rental agreement. The property management fees are typically if something needs to be done. If you're, like I said, if you had a water break or something like that, or for whatever reason tiles are broken or your refrigerator stops working or something and we have to replace it. What we've done and always done, and I think many of you, if not all of you, have seen, is we typically send out a work order detailing what work needs to be done to bring the unit back up to rental condition. And you have to authorize it. There's a signature line on the bottom where you authorize us to perform that work, so you know in advance what we're going to do. And obviously the faster you can respond if you agree with the work order, the better, because if a unit has an issue where we can't rent it, it's going to sit there unrented until we're given authorization to repair it. I don't think I've missed any other questions. So in summary, and if I have missed any questions, first of all, feel free to send an email. I'm always happy to respond. I try to respond as quickly as possible. Somebody mentioned to me the other day that I responded very poorly, and then we realized that all my responses were in their junk mail. So again, please, I try to respond almost always the same day or within 24 hours of receiving anybody's questions. I kind of live in my email, so that's the best place to find me. Oh, one thing I didn't mention, I do want to mention that's worked well at other resorts too, is I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with WhatsApp. It's a phone messaging system, very popular in Latin America. Almost everybody has WhatsApp. And it's just an instant messaging system where you can create groups. And what we found is, it's always quicker than email to WhatsApp somebody if it's something urgent that you want to know. And I also try to stay in WhatsApp forum pretty consistently, so I'm probably inviting a lot of WhatsApping that may keep me up at night. But we've created a Grand Baymen public alert group and a Grand Baymen owners group. And what those really are is, if you're interested in being in them, the public alert group is something, for example, if there was a hurricane expected to come, or a tsunami. I know it's not things we don't necessarily want to think about, but we'll blast out a message in there saying, there was a 5.3 magnitude earthquake, and don't worry, because it requires a 6.0 to cause a tsunami, etc. And we find that's a very valuable tool to have, and our owners at the resorts that use or are part of those groups are very happy that they have kind of instant messaging telling them what's going on. And then the residents group is actually residents or owners group is interesting too, where you'll have less formal discussions. It'll be take a look at the flowering plants that we have, and we'll send pictures or something, or people will say, oh, I just baked bread in unit C308 or whatever, and if anybody's interested, I'm happy to share, those sorts of things. So it's actually a bit of a community builder. And again, you can send a message to Lorena, and she can add you to those groups. And they tend to become more active as more people get on them. I would ask that anybody that joins the groups be respectful. This isn't a method of venting. It's not meant for complaining. If you have something you're not happy with, please send me a message, because I can't do anything if I don't know the situation exists. But we do have respect rules on these groups. So if someone's going to kind of go beyond the border of respect, or start attacking other owners or something like that, we'll delete them from the group. So, but it is a very useful tool. So, just wanted to mention that as well. So like I said, we're very excited. I hope you're very excited to have the opportunity to join the Best Western brand and the family. We do expect a good year next year. We don't know exactly when that's going to start, but we're preparing for it. And I think going into the high season as a Best Western will give us the best chance for improving our return on investment. So unless there's any other questions, I think that's pretty much what we had for a presentation. I hope that we answered a lot of the questions. Again, I do apologize that it's a little bit backwards. We sent the information out, in terms of what things were going to cost before we told you what it was, and before we had a chance of this webinar. But there was reasons for that, and it's not necessarily the way we wanted to do it. But now we're here. Now we're answering questions, and we're wanting to move forward and looking forward to ramping up the Best Western as quickly as we can. So let me just check the questions and answers one more time. And it doesn't look like there's any new ones. So I'll take that to mean that we answered everybody's questions. And I want to thank everybody for joining us. We had a good number of attendees. There's over 20 people on the call, and this was recorded. So for those people that couldn't make it, they can listen to it in the future. And we will try very hard to get you the new agreements and the list of upgrade items in the next days, for sure, weeks, and you'll have all that in front of you and be able to ask any questions you might want to ask. All right, and thank you, everybody. I'm not sure. I'm going to turn this over to Ivan to tell me how to get out of this and quit. But thank you again, everybody. And unless any Mike, I don't know. I know Mike Cobb has joined on. I don't know if you'll have anything particular you want to say while you're here.
No, but Patrick, thank you for running a great webinar and pulling all this information together. I know there was quite a bit of reaching and grabbing and sorting that had to get done to pull it in from the various entities. And we're excited about the Best Western. It's really a great first step towards bigger and better things for all of us. And Patrick mentioned, we do understand that we've dropped the ball, and I guess the bottom line is we're here, we're still here, we're going to stay here. We're in this for the long term, and yes, we make mistakes, but we are figuring out better ways to address those concerns and bring in experts who can do a far better job at some of these things than we can. So thank you for sticking with us and letting us have the opportunity and the time to make the changes that will be meaningful for all of us. So again, I think Patrick and his team, Lorena, you're doing a phenomenal job. Thank you. I know things have improved dramatically since you came on board just about 6 months ago. You and your new team, some of them old, some of them new, are doing a tremendous job. And I just want a big shout out to you, Lorena, for picking up the ball, picking up a dropped ball in many cases, and bringing it forward. And now with the policies, procedures, systems, QC, training, all of the things that Best Western brings to the table, this is really going to be a big change, a powerful change for the organization and for what that means to everybody who owns a property with us. So again, big shout out to Lorena, Patrick, your team, and for all the owners for again sticking with us and bearing with us as we got the refinement in place to take this to the next level.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Just quickly before I end, there was one more question from Jean McNeely: are we covered by insurance? Yes, the building, we have insurance through the HOA. We have insurance for the property, the buildings. That's not content insurance though. So just to be clear, if you have specific, you are obviously have to get specific content insurance yourselves if you want it. Our insurance covers things like fire and on buildings and earthquake and those sorts of things. But your internal content, if you had a water break and it was all destroyed for some reason, that's not covered by the building insurance. So just hopefully that clarifies that. Anyway, again, thank you, everybody. That was it for the questions that I've got in front of me. So we're going to end it now, and I appreciate you joining us. And we'll, again, whenever you have any questions, do not hesitate to send me an email. And then if you don't hear from me, check your junk mail, because that's where my response probably went. Anyway, thanks again. Talk to you soon.